Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who she hired, could be forced to take the stand tomorrow. There will be an evidence hearing over misconduct allegations involving the romantically entangled couple. A Georgia judge is investigating them.
The most serious aspect of these allegations is that they may have filed a false affidavit and false papers with the court. There are witnesses that can show that their relationship preceded his hiring. That's very serious. But keep in mind that Willis and Wade are prosecuting people in this case for making false statements to courts. So this is becoming increasingly bizarre.
Fact-checking and witness testimony could be enough to remove one or both of them from former President Trump's election interference case. Senior correspondent Steve Harrigan on the story for us. Steve.
Harris, the two sides in this case are basically on a collision course, which is going to bear itself out tomorrow. On the one side, you have the DA and the prosecutor. They admit they had a relationship, but they said that relationship only began after the prosecutor, Nathan Wade, was hired. They admit they traveled together, but they said they went Dutch. They split everything. They split all expenses. The defense attorney has basically come out and said both of these two are lying about everything, that they actually had a relationship well before Nathan Wade was hired, and that Nathan Wade, who earned hundreds of thousands of dollars as a prosecutor, basically spent tens of thousands wining and dining Fani Willis. Now, the hearing tomorrow is not going to be about election interference in Georgia. It's going to be about Fani Willis and this relationship.
I think what we're looking at is a kind of a mini trial on the Fani Willis, Nathan Wade affair. And that mini trial is going to go on for a heck of a long time. It's not going to be resolved anything like February 15th.
The key question for tomorrow, what everyone will be watching for, will the DA, Fani Willis, have to take the stand and testify under oath about her love life? It really is a decision the judge is going to make, and it will depend on what the earlier witnesses say. Harris, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. Leo Terrell, Fox News contributor and attorney. And I wrote down a note, there's some losers in this whole thing. First of all, the taxpayers who put up all that money for Nathan Wade's salary, that she paid him the most of anybody in the office among the prosecutors. And then his wife. They're in their divorce right now. And that's where we've gotten some of the receipts from Jocelyn Wade. Your thoughts?
I'll tell you right now, Harry, it's that divorce case that may come back to bite Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. Why? Because there are documents, allegedly, that are in the divorce proceeding that contradicts what Nathan Wade and Fani Willis have said in this proceeding. That is going to be a major issue. These two attorneys' motivation is to make sure they do not lie to the court. When you walk in that courtroom, you are an officer of the court. So Nathan Wade and Fani Willis' legal career is in jeopardy if they go up on that witness stand and not tell the judge the truth.
But they already lied through their affidavit and their paperwork to the court, saying when their relationship started. And that matters because they are now, how can they be the people to investigate someone who's accused of a crime?
They can't. And this is where the judge has to come down and make that ruling. A couple of days ago, Harris, he said the issue of disqualification is in play. If this judge makes a factual finding that that relationship started before this case, they are going to be disqualified. They're going to be disqualified automatically. He has to make that factual ruling. The question here is, Harris, is who's going to take that witness stand, Nathan Wade, Fani Willis, and the other witnesses who are going to testify to the prior relationship.
So that's interesting. Other witnesses, and if any of them happen to be people who were working as subordinates to Fani Willis, that's problematic, and I've been laying this out for days. In sexual harassment and cases where lovers are in an office and subordinates don't have the same access to the boss for promotions and whatnot, they have lawsuits. And again, the taxpayers are on the hook if that were to happen.
May I add, a couple other people may have a lawsuit if the judge finds that they are disqualified and this case blows up. The 19 defendants who basically were drawn into this courtroom under false pretenses. And let me just simply say this. They have retaliatory prosecution lawsuits. And if I was the attorney for against Nathan Wade and Fani Willis, I ask 4 questions. Sir, did you have a relationship with Fani Willis? Sir, did she cohabitate with you? Sir, did that relationship start prior to 2021? And And fourth, did you tell other individuals? Those are 4 yes and no questions I would ask if I was in that courtroom.
Ooh. Well, I will be watching, as you will be watching, to see if your great questions are asked or part of the proceedings. And I tell you, I don't know, they better have a box of tissues, because, whoo, you talked about all that these two have on the line to lose. All right, a key witness adding fuel to House Republicans' impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Tony Bobulinski, a former Hunter business associate, gave insight into then Vice President Joe Biden's ties to his son Hunter's business. Republican committee chairman says his testimony was damning.
He talked about Joe's involvement. He talked about the numerous times he talked to Joe Biden. He mentioned that Joe Biden thanked him for what he was doing with his brother and his son.
Tony Bobulinski obviously confirmed that the big guy on an email to Walker, to Hunter Biden, to all these folks who were doing business together, that the big guy was, in fact, Joe Biden.
The Biden family has been cashing in his position of power in government. Joe Biden's going to go down as the most corrupt, compromised president in our lifetime.
So the New York Post cover making the case about how Joe Biden's family was selling the brand to foreign clients. Another revelation came from Tony Bobulinski's opening statement when he told lawmakers, quote, the Chinese Communist Party, through a Chinese energy conglomerate, successfully sought to infiltrate and compromise Joe Biden and the Biden White House, end quote. A newly surfaced document allegedly shows Hunter Biden worked with that Chinese energy company while Joe Biden was still VP. Hunter wrote to the company executive, we anticipate working together on a number of opportunities in the U.S. and abroad. Leo, I come to you.
Harris, I would ask everyone watching your show today a simple question. Tony Bobulinski has no motivation to lie. If he lies, he exposed himself to perjury. And so what would be his motivation to go in there and lie? I would submit to you that he is a key direct witness. Why? He has personal knowledge. He can testify to personal events that he witnessed. He knows that Joe Biden was the big guy and the brand was Joe Biden. That document you just referenced, Harris, was in 2016. Biden was vice president at that time. So there is a connection. The Oversight Committee cannot get a better witness than Tony Bobulinski. He is a perfect witness because he has personal knowledge.
I want to remind everybody why Hunter's business dealings matter and the access to a president of the United States who said he had nothing to do with anybody that Hunter was doing business with. And then we find out later in certain years he did, that he was meeting with people. So the bottom line is national security. I give you the last word.
Harris, you know, we have talked about this over and over again. There is this legal component, and what you have here is the political component. You have Joe Biden in charge of the Department of Justice and running the White House. And so James Biden and Hunter Biden has that political protection. The legal right and wrong of this matter is being intersect with the politics of this. And what we're going to find out is whether or not the House Oversight Committee can get enough evidence to go in and prosecute this case on the floor by way of impeachment.
Well, it's a lot, and I am glad you are in focus, and we get to talk about these things and delve deeper into the evidence as it pops. Thank you very much.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.